What's up, everybody out there in YouTube land? This is Roy Carter from Rectitude Media, and heck yeah, another beautiful day. Finally getting some spring here. We already had some crazy weather. It was like, I think, middle of April, and we're still getting a little bit of snow. So that's fun. But anyways, yeah, I got my yellow vest on today. Got my anti-Trudeau Grope Rebel Media t-shirt. And got the Ladder with Crowder, There Are Only Two Genders Change My Mind, and also got some PPC buttons here. So, yeah, there's a PPC meeting today in Woodstock for the Oxford Riding, and I'm looking forward to that. So I'm keeping this video short, sweet, and simple. And, I don't know, before I just kind of wanted to make a video to show off all of these wonderful PPC buttons. That's one bag right there. That's just under 100. And then we got... I'll put that over there. And we got another 100 right here. So I'm going to be using this to fundraise. This one's the Strong and Free PPC, baby. Heck yeah. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I'll put those over there. And this one's over there. But yeah, no, it's the PPC Strong and Free's on this side. And this side is just the regular PPC People's Party of Canada, just to get the word out there, because a lot of people don't even really know what the whole platform is and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I noticed PPC's got a YouTube channel up there, so anybody want to go check that out. And what I like what they actually did about their channel is they had Maxime Bernier actually answer questions, which is pretty cool. You usually don't see a lot of politicians that actually know how to answer questions like Trudeau. So it's kind of interesting to see what's going on there, and heck yeah. So I'm pretty stoked for today. I just came back from a morning swim, so got some good exercise in there, and back on the morning shift somewhat, so I can actually get some good sleep and not be a night owl or whatnot. So yeah, it's pretty much my right eye's still a little sore from the... Oh, is it? Yeah. Dang chlorine. I need to get one of those goggles or something. But anyways, yeah, that's pretty much just my little update for this morning, and I'm so glad that I actually got a party that isn't the left or right wing of the neo-lib, scam of a bird that is out there. It's kind of nice to definitely finally get some spring in the air, get some energy, and finally get out of the cabin fever that I've been having to put up with for the past little bit. So yeah, and obviously the beard's still doing pretty well, so I've been keeping that pretty epic, and yeah, keep on rocking in the free world. This one's a short one, so I figured I'd not go for that long rant. Obviously Assange, free Assange. It sucks what happened to him, and it's funny how they're always the media was loving him when it was against Bush, but as soon as it was Obama that he was leaking out and all that stuff, and there's absolutely no proof that it was the Russians that even hacked the stuff to WikiLeaks. In fact, he even hinted to people like Seth Rich or whatnot, or FBI informants. William Binney even had to say that it was a direct download, because the amount of download that was actually the amount of gigabytes or terabytes or whatnot, it was going way too fast for it to be over a net kind of a hack or whatnot. So I mean, I'm not a a security analyst by any means, or a computer wizard or any of that jazz, but I think someone like William Binney, who's definitely had the full deep state come after him many times in the States or whatnot, definitely had a lot of insight. So I mean, I really don't think the intelligence agencies in the U.S. or Canada, the Five Eyes, have any credibility whatsoever. All they're doing now is just censoring and spying on people, and using the media to ferment this bullshit narrative of Nazis under every single steps. Behind every bush there's this white supremacist, which is stupid, because here in Canada, it's all people want is just to go back to a sensible immigration system where we're not bringing a bunch of people in, where we don't on CTV 4 days ago they had this lady on there, and they tried to legitimately have on their news report, oh, look at this poor asylum seeker from, and she's like, I am from Texas. It's I escaped Trump because he he's mean, and I fear for my life. I'm like, that's some bullshit. What did they try to do? Shove a giant steak down your goddamn throat? It's like, you got threatened with giant food? Makes no sense, man. We got to put our foot down. This is getting ridiculous. I'm surprised the NDP aren't, saying enough's enough, because, like, we're already backlogged. We already have, like, tons of people on waiting lists for houses and for, oh my god, it's ridiculous. And then you got the Liberals that are giving out money left, right, and center to everyone, and then say, oh, sorry, veterans, we don't care if you're homeless or starving on the streets or, need medical care or whatnot. So what if you served your country? And, it's ridiculous how they're, I don't even know the people are taking the Liberals seriously. Thing is, though, a lot of people are like, oh, vote for the Conservatives. It's like, what? No, 4 years ago, we knew exactly how corrupt Stephen Harper was. And, I mean, I live in Oxford Riding, so it's a pretty strong Conservative area. And, I mean, I understand why, Arnie and Dave McKenzie have done so well, because I've talked to local people and stuff like that. And, hey, you know what? Obviously the local population here feels like they've been treated fairly well by them. So, I haven't heard anything really too bad about them or whatnot. That's, so I think they've definitely done a good job in that respects. And a lot of actually local politicians usually do a lot better jobs. It's just when you see them when they go to, there's those ones that are just doing it for trying to make a career out of it, and they end up going to, Ottawa or Toronto, and they end up not giving a damn about Canadians, so it's, it goes to their own self-serving interest. But, so what? It's kind of actually pretty decent around here. There's a lot of Conservatives that are actually for, thing is, though, it's kind of like Andrew Scheer is kind of sketchy. He just got caught taking to prove that he's not Islamophobic, mind you, because of all the crap in the Commons. So he goes over to Omar Shebida or Shediba, I don't know, but the guy who practically advocates for beating your wife, like, it's like talking about going from one extreme to another, and it just goes to show you how feckless Andrew Scheer is. And I mean, the media is really not, aside from like attack pieces where it's just journalists being like, aren't you afraid of the the Islamophobia thing? They keep asking like Bernier all the time or whatnot about it's all identity politics with the state-run media. I mean, like, I think it's funny how the CBC has the fifth estate when they get like money, billions of dollars from the freaking government, and they try to act like they're that like arbiters of independent freaking journalism. What a joke. But anyways, I'm liking what Bernier says, and I really do like the PPC channel where he's answering like different questions and stuff like that. I just think he should keep doing that. That's a great idea, because a lot of people, they have specific questions, especially about everything. And when you're first coming out as a party, and there's two corrupt alternatives and a really sketchy 2 or 3 other ones like the NDP or the Green Party. I mean, last federal election, I actually supported the NDP. That's because like they were going mostly for affordable childcare, which helps families out that are trying to work, for all the prices that are going up with this stupid carbon tax. Thing was, I was never for the carbon tax, and I was really sketchy, and like, I mean, I was really thought it was really sketchy, and we had like these London meetings where it was like Southwestern Ontario for like the elections council for the federal and provincial riding associations, and many times I asked them, like, what is the actual plan? Like, where's this money going to be going to that we're taking from Peter to pay Paul? And they're like, oh no, it'll go back to people. And they're like, yeah, I'm not getting any specific plans here. And like, I think the one person that tried to explain it to me ended up showing me something that was like linked to the Tides Foundation, and those guys are about as corrupt of an NGO as you could possibly think of when it comes to, just like a Gerald Butts. Enough said right there. And there's Soros money that's been going into Canada. It's it's not good. And I think it's stupid how people say, oh, it's anti-Semitic to talk bad about George Soros when that guy doesn't really care about you, like at all. In fact, like, it's a whole speculative thing, but he did admit on a 60 Minutes interview that he did round up not Nazis, but Jewish people in Hungary, under the guise of being like a Christian with his like I guess adopted grandfather or whatnot, who took him in or something like that. And yeah, he did go around kind of selling out his own people, so I wouldn't really recommend, like, say that that's anti-Semitism. And even Bibi, Netanyahu, I don't know you call it, freaking Israel. He just got reelected, so at least he's been, he's been rolling the Benjamins. Well, I think it's stupid how they try to say that he was like, it was like corruption or whatnot. It was like a couple of dinners that he paid for. I mean, people like, it's ridiculous how that's a big thing. It's really don't see how it's anywhere near as corrupt as like Trudeau going to like Aga Khan's like personal resort and taking like huge bribes. It's ridiculous just seeing how bad the like the Muslim Brotherhood and like CARE affiliated groups and Hamas affiliated groups are kind of taking over Canada. Well, I wouldn't say taking over, but putting a good representation in here. I mean, like London has turned into a hotspot for kind of crazy stuff too. And hey, I'm all for like Canadian law for everyone, none of this like making family exemption courts for Sharia law, stuff like that, and it's like they've done it in the UK, but then they're like, oh no, technically the Sharia laws don't have anything to do with UK courts. So UK courts and the family laws supersede any of that stuff. It's like, that's not true, because if you're in those communities, then if your imam says that you're guilty or passes judgment, then the people in that community are going to go with that law over British law. And as much as they try to say it's not happening, it is. And I mean, it's the same thing as if I would call out like I'm all for separation of church and state. Like I would call out any fundamentalist religion if they were trying to say that people like a woman's like say is not worth it or whatnot. I'm all about equality and stuff like that, but just not like the social justice warrior progressive equality. I'm actually like pretty centrist when it comes to it. I just lean a little bit right because the right's making a lot more sense. They're the ones that are not like running away when people put microphones in their faces to actually like talk about issues. And the sad thing is the classical liberals, I mean, it's up to you guys and the centrists to try to get that stuff figured out for the liberals and the NDP if you want any future. I mean, yeah, the brainwashed Marxism, cultural Marxism that's going on in educational institutions nowadays, they've got definitely a leg up on us for the future generations. But I mean, it's one of those things where once they get out and realize that all these high taxes and all this, how it's impossible for them really to live in big cities like Toronto, like it's getting to the point where millennials are are not buying houses at the rates that they should be, and they're you get all these younger groups that are talking about communism and Marxism and stuff, but the thing is, people think it makes us all equally rich, but it makes us all equally poor. It's, you can't really stifle entrepreneurship, and if you do, it usually has negative consequences. It turns into this giant spiraling debt bubble of people that just can't afford to go out and do for restaurants and can't afford to start businesses and go through the regulations that are usually put in place. And I think that the only regulations that you should have are pretty much for safety and maybe for economic security, and that's about it. Very minimalist, definitely libertarian, anti-authoritarian. I think that I like the libertarian perspective on things, but sadly, we've gotten to a point where you have to lean a little bit right because they're the ones that are making sense. They're the ones that are making the good economic points. They're the ones that are trying to talk about fiscal responsibility. I mean, they had a Comer group, and I've said this many times in other videos before, that they were actually the only ones that would come over to the NDP as like a third-party option, trying to be like, hey, you guys got to like come up with a plan to talk about some fiscal responsibility, maybe renationalize the issuance of our own currency, stop paying German firms like Jiseki and Devrient or something like that, or some weird, like firm that's not really accountable to Canadians that is involved in printing most of our money. And I don't know that they were doing it up to a certain bit, but the thing is, we still charge for when we print money. We're paying private and central banks. It's ridiculous how we're attaching a debt based kind of system to every dollar that's printed, and then the the answer for the left and the socialists, the communists, is to keep printing more money, to have a centralized banking. And I think decentralization is the answer, because time and time again, that's what shows to be the less corrupt way of doing business, whether or not it's the free market, whether or not it's governments. You know, I think we definitely need more of a libertarian option here in Canada. And I'm really kind of glad to be part of the Oxford PPC. And even though, you know, I'm fighting an uphill battle here because most people here are deeply conservative, I think a lot of, you know, hopefully a lot of farmers who, you know, are sick of seeing their farms disappear and seeing the fact that it's costing them a lot of money to, you know, the fact that they're not allowed to, they can't produce more milk and make money off of it, and a lot of consumers too that are wondering why we're paying $5 and even more. You know, like, we need to drop the price of poultry, we need to drop the price of cheese and milk, and you know, like, especially when we're stuck with this crazy carbon tax. And you know, maybe that's the one good thing about the conservatives, if they do, you know, get in power. Overall, you know, thinking strategically, because unfortunately that's the way that people are kind of doing it right now. You know, it's like 4 years ago it was like, oh my god, Harper's horrible, you know, like, anybody but Harper. And now just they put in, you know, Soy Boy Trudeau, and the guy has turned Canada into the biggest joke ever. And people are sadly looking towards that right option again. You know, it's the same masters. And I like guys like Canadian Libertarian. I really enjoy his videos, and I really like what guys like him are doing out there, you know. And I understand for the Libertarian Party, Tim Owen. I mean, I got nothing against Tim Owen. I've never actually met him before in my life or whatnot. I always kind of wanted to, but I noticed like Libertarian conventions are pretty damn expensive. I noticed. I was gonna go, but I don't know. I like the PPC a lot more, because Maxime Bernier, even like a lot of people like that I've talked to, though, that there is this, like, I don't know, because he's French, kind of like, you know, bias, I guess. You know, it's like, I've talked to a few people that just don't like him because he's French, and I think it's just a stupid kind of way to think about things. I mean, nobody really liked John or understood what the hell John Gresham was saying back in the day when he was actually a sensible, somewhat liberal, and you know, people still voted for him, I guess. You know, I mean, he was prime minister. I mean, but yeah, no, it's interesting. I like how Maxime Bernier. I mean, you gotta look past the accent and see what he's actually saying. What he's actually saying is for an equal playing field for all Canadians. You know, it's lower taxes. It's you know, cutting the huge fat that we have in our government. And I mean, a lot of people will probably vote against him just because they don't want to see that happen. You know, like, they've been fattened up like a sow of the based on the government feed. You know, it's something, unfortunately, that we're gonna have to deal with. But at the same time, I think a lot of people are looking towards definitely a change, and at least hopefully with the PPC, because I'm going to be volunteering to do some phone canvassing, so that's good. I'll get even if I have to, like, because we don't really have like a decent system. Like, they had like a whole bunch of different stuff with, like, well, not a whole bunch, but like a whole system with the NDP that I was able to, like, get, like, access to, and I was, like, you know, like, trusted and all that stuff to, like, go through, like, their lists and see who is still you know, like, interested in voting and stuff like that. But if I have to go through the phone book, I will do that. And like, if I have to create a phone list on Excel, I'll even do that for PPC. I'm willing to spend as much time as I can. So yeah, hopefully I find some people around Oxford that are like-minded, and the meetings that we're having, every time that they have a meeting each month, where there's more and more people, we're getting more and more chairs there, more and more butts out there, so that's good. And soon we'll be looking for nominating a person for our riding, and I have no intentions of doing that whatsoever. I'm not a public figure. I'm one of those people that would probably tell it too much like it is, and probably get off of the party platform. Plus, I'm more of the conspiracy theorist of the PPC group, obviously, if you've seen many of my videos beforehand. But I like the people there. There's actually some really good people in the community that are definitely better choices, and I think they would do a really good job, because it's a conservative riding. So if we got any chance as a actual conservative option here, pretty much need someone who's either like a veteran or a business owner or is known in the community, sort of thing. Those are the kind of people you want running, just because of the demographics, and unfortunately that's how politics is played here in Canada. I mean, a guy like me who's like disabled and is on ODSP and trying to like lose weight and stuff like that, being a big guy, and actually I've been doing pretty decent. Like, my arms are getting getting some tightness there. But I was like, I think I've definitely lost a decent 20-30 pounds just this year so far. So, and that's been from swimming. Thing is, though, I kind of got to the point where I was so big that I like it was like the bottom fat kind of like went out and extended. So now that I'm losing weight, it's like in the middle, like top to middle part, like I'm starting to like lose weight. Or if I sit down, it's like my stomach starts to like go in, but this is getting a little kind of gross. And people are probably tuning out by now, or I would not blame you for that. But anyways, I'm doing pretty good, and gonna keep up at it. And actually, yeah, that's pretty much. Holy crap, I went 20 minutes. So anyways, this is supposed to be a short video, but then I started talking about recent stuff with the Assange and whatnot. So definitely needed to be said, obviously, because that's a big issue right now. And hopefully Trump turns it to the tables with Barr, because seeing the looks on those Democrat faces, and seeing the CNN and all those mainstream media freak out. Thing is, though, they're trying to use this whole Assange thing now and I think it was perfectly timed. Obviously, the IMF gave like $1 billion loan to Ecuador, so I'm sure that had absolutely nothing to do with it. Or the fact that like the statute of limitations for the charges that they're trying to get him on is kind of ridiculous. They've had to like go and bumped it up on a trumped up charge of terrorism now, which is like an 8-year thing, and apparently they got him just in time, because by June that would have been the expiry date, and they would have been able to get him anyway. So I guess they made a deal and went after him. So unfortunately, and then Ecuador's like, oh, Hugh was such a bad. It's like, right. I mean, you're dealing with a guy who's a little bit eccentric, obviously. I mean, the dude was like banging chicks because he's like, like, was his Mendex was his name when he was a hacker or whatnot, was his code name. So, obviously he was like living high off of the fame and whatnot, and the infamy, I guess. And there's also some questions about what's going on with that whole sex operation, because, like, I guess he gave him, like, STDs or something. It was a down and dirty hacker. Oh, I can't blame him. I mean, they all consented. They knew what was going on, but I guess the STD thing, and I guess that's like the weirdest thing that, I guess, yeah. I mean, it's definitely not cool. It's not something you'd want to do to pretty ladies that want to sleep with you. We're giving them STDs and not telling them about it first, it's kind of dishonest. But, I mean, getting them for... I mean, look at like half of the people in Congress and all that shady, dark fucking shit that they've done over the years. And all the skeletons they probably have in their closet. I really don't think there's any kind of comparison, but they're trying to get him on the whole like hacking thing, or really he was a journalist. He's a publisher. He's doing, I mean, pretty much what the Post did and Nixon tried to go after. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, there's definitely, like, that whole, state secrets and stuff like that, but he was showing, like, some, like, serious, like, violations of the Geneva Convention, like, that whole, collateral murder or collateral damage thing, the video that they showed, was where they're, like, blowing up the freaking ambulance, and they had, like, the guy had, like, his kids in the ambulance, too, and, like, that's just, come on, man, like... You don't need to do that in war. That's pretty messed up. That's just plain out murder. And they're all laughing from the gunship, just being like, "Oh, well, these assholes. That's what happens when you bring your kids to a fight." It's like these people don't even know where they're being shot from. And these Reuters reporters ended up getting blown to smithereens, and it's just totally messed up. Definitely not needed. And I mean, people will have different, there's more like right-leaning people that are like, oh, throw Assange's ass into the hellfire, let him burn kind of thing. And, I mean, if you look at the leaks that was coming out about Hillary Clinton and all the stuff that was out there, I mean, that was a service. I mean, like they freaked out CNN so much that they had Cuomo on there being like, don't you be looking at those illegal files. You could go to jail for them. Let us the octopus tell you what is going on. Of course, the little slimy tentacles, they wouldn't tell you the damn truth if their life depended on it, but, you know, that's how it is. Well, anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you guys very much, and it's good times. You know, I don't like to edit my videos, so sometimes they get a little momentary awkwardness, and I kind of go on those, like, random vectors and rants, but, hey, you know what, keep on rocking in the free world, and I appreciate everything that you guys do, and anybody who actually listens to my videos for long periods of time, man, good on you. So I'm looking forward to probably running some SC games, and which nobody knows what I'm talking about anyways, and then probably going down to the PPC meeting to give out my buttons, and I'll figure out whether they probably might want to do like a thing where it's like a couple dollars for the button, so then we can do some sort of thing where, you know, like we're fundraising the button sort of thing, so that way that it gives them money, and then if they want to maybe help my grandparents' business out or whatnot, or if you guys want to, they do custom buttons. I've put the link on some of my videos beforehand. I haven't really took it seriously, the whole like YouTube career, so to speak. I mean, I've been meaning to like, you know, post more on different platforms and stuff, because obviously YouTube is the devil now. But you know, it's definitely kind of interesting to see how things are going, and yeah, it's definitely been interesting times, and at least I'm trying to do something. You know, it's not just me sitting here down, you know, just down in my own kind of little dungeon thinking about like, oh, I should, you know, do more things, or, you know, somebody should do something or whatnot. At least I'm making that effort, so maybe if I can get some like-minded people, you never know. I mean, every vote counts, you know, as much as as much as it doesn't in some ways, but you know, getting more people out there, and there's definitely a lot of Canadians that are angry at just the whole getting screwed up, the yin yang with taxes, and just everything going up in price. And I mean, here in Canada, I mean, like, yeah, our debt to GDP is actually pretty good for nation, but I mean, our household debt is still around 50% for people that are going like far in debt just to be able to pay for things, and it's getting crazy for hydro costs and stuff like that, because a lot of the people with these smart meters, it's like an estimate, you know, like they keep ripping, like they ripped us off here in Ontario $14 billion over years of just overcharging us for usage that we didn't use. So anyways, I'm gonna leave it there. Have a good one, guys, and I will definitely make a video in the next little while. So, heck yeah. Even my like small videos and short videos, I end up ranting for like 27 minutes or whatnot. So, but on the bright side, I don't need any editing equipment because I'm just that badass. Yeah, that's what I'm telling myself. All right, peace.